written by Professor Jean-Emmanuel Pondi. And inside this back equally is a DVD. It's a DVD of a special program I did immediately Nelson Mandela died last December 5. In the night, you have the South African High Commissioner to Cameroon, Professor Jean-Emmanuel Pondi again, Dr. Christian Put, and my colleague Fonka Mutabo Benat. In reality, CRTV had a special program immediately Mandela died, making CRTV to be one of the first channels in the world to do a live program immediately Mandela died on his life and death. So we decided to offer this to you because the next day, FIFA had their draws in Brazil, and I saw you and the rest of the team paying homage to President Mandela. So
thank you.
The production team of Globe Watch decided to give that to you.
Because this is, when we speak about Mandela, I'm the happiest man in the world because Mandela, he gave me trust and confidence to bring the World Cup to South Africa, and he was the instrument to bring the World Cup to South Africa.
FIFA President Joseph Sepp Blatter, thanks very much for accepting to be guest on our program.
Thank you, Charles.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So any incursion from the Japanese, from the Chinese side would mean American direct interference in support of Japan. Is that what you are telling me?
Well, I'm not going to answer any hypothetical questions.
The Secretary General equally calls on your team. I'm reading the last two lines of the last paragraph of his letter to you, to work in total independence, impartiality, and objectivity with the sole objective of contributing to the promotion and protection of human rights. You are going to a country where petrol is the principal source of the situation where we are today. If they give you petrol, will you turn blind to justice?
I'm not a petrol merchant, so if they give me petrol, I'll go and keep it where. Do I have tanks?
The International Labour Organization states that globally, 75 million youths are out of the job market, aged between 15 to 25. Thousands of children are sexually assaulted by the Catholic establishment. That is according to the United Nations again. And you have millions of others suffering across the world. When you hear such blistering figures, are you saddened, traumatized, or sickened?
I'm all those things, but I'm also so hopeful and so optimistic. And let me tell you why. For each of those figures, which are true, and they cause us great sorrow, there are figures that tell a story of achievement, of success, and of hope. Across this great continent of Africa, for example, maternal mortality is reducing.
I mean, at the level of the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences, it should be $1 million issue.
Well, let me take a step back. You're putting a number of questions into one. So, we recruit students at AIMS on the basis of academic excellence and potential, drive and commitment to Africa.
Professor Klaus von Klitzing, 1985 Nobel laureate for physics. Thanks very much for accepting our invitation on Globe Watch today. And I should tell our audience that you are the first Nobel laureate to be guest on this program.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me.
So we wish you a safe journey back to Germany.
Thank you very much. With
all these fall downs of American diplomacy, can you have the courage to tell me that when Washington sneezes, the world can still catch a cold?
Well, I think we see in crises across the world in the United States.
This is probably a yes or no question, Mr. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. Can you say confidently that if Washington sneezes today, the world can still catch a cold?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily phrase it that way.
How do you instill confidence in them when the leadership mantle is like a financial scandal?
Well, I mean, it is a number of factors. This illicit financial flows issue is very much at the top of the agenda of the African heads of state. They have created a commission to deal with it, chaired by President Becky. I'm the vice chair of that commission. And we are compiling a report that will be tabled to the heads of state in June this year in the summit that is going to take place in Malabo. So this is not something that is...
But it sounds sad because those who are responsible for illicit financial flow are those in the corridors of power. So how do you coach them?
True, but partly is corruption, but partly is also just lack of knowledge.
With this mounting insecurity across our borders, do you think that Cameroon can survive?
Of course, Cameroon have to survive. And you're talking of Cameroon as if you don't know that the Cameroon history is very rich of this type of situation that was overcome by Cameroonians. You know that even at the eve of our independence, we went on secession war.
I wonder how a 21-year-old handsome and intelligent young man having an MBA in business administration with an SHEEN Shin future from a well-to-do family with both parents still alive suddenly developed tears for orphan children across the world.
It's not, I wouldn't say it was tears. I would say it was born out of a smile. Because I was fortunate enough to be blessed by both parents that are alive and by all the elders that surrounded me. So I had that call, if I can put it that way. And I felt that need to transmit a bit of that blessing to the orphans. It's just sad that most of the charity organizations that are born nowadays are born from tears. That is, you go through something and you create an organization, which is an incredible thing because you don't want other people to go through the same thing you went through.
Don't you think that it is time to maybe have a kind of paramilitary unit within the Commonwealth, maybe to make a difference with La Francophonie and other international organizations?
Mr. Ebune, you permit me to coin the issue slightly differently from what you've done. I don't think the facts bear you out that most of the said Commonwealth countries are dealing with security challenges. Some of them are dealing with major security challenges. It is the case of Nigeria. And the security challenge in Nigeria goes well beyond the purview of just the Commonwealth. It is a threat to the very existence of this country.
Close to 25,000 Liberian students wrote the entrance exam into the University of Liberia, and all of them failed. What happened?
I'm asking the question myself. I'm really still asking that question. But unfortunately, it was a reality that occurred, and I don't know how it occurred. But now, as I speak, they're still investigating what happened, that could have occurred. But then what they did later on was to look closely at the tests, and they found out that some people, even though they didn't pass in both subjects that were given as the test, some passed in one and failed in the other.
There is this rapprochement in the Middle East, and Israel says, I will remain alone.
Well, no, I don't want to be alone. I want to be friends with Iran. I want to have to send ambassador to Iran.
When?
I want.
When?
You give me the date when they...
I don't know. I cannot decide on behalf of the Israeli government.
But it depends on Tehran. I just want them to stop saying, we kill Israelis, we destroy Israel, and Israel should not be exist. If they regret on what they say.
Magistrates who are not trained in the Ohada system find it so difficult to exploit the law and even to understand it. They call it a very complex something from Franks. Now, how do you try to make Ohada to be part of a linguistic legal tender in those areas?
I think that this is one of the limits of Ohada, the fact that everything is conceived and most of the activities are done in French.
If you take Syria and the Central African Republic, you are the boss to decide where food should go most. Where will the priority be?
Charles, I am passionate wherever there's a hungry person, whether it's the Central African Republic or Syria. We are working today to feed 4.3 million people inside Syria, 1.8 million people outside Syria.
Are you afraid to say that you are a compassionate conservative like former American President George W. Bush? Certainly there are some areas where more of your interest will be. Is it Syria or the Central African Republic?
I don't have an area where one child is more important to me than another. I spend as much time in sub-Saharan Africa as I do in Yemen and in the Middle East, in Jordan. in refugee camps. The reality of it is, as the executive director of the World Food Program, I have the responsibility to be beyond a conservative, compassionate person.